Hey YouTube, James here with my first theatrical review in about 2 years. Um, it's kind of crazy. Um, yeah, so if you just watched my update video, my first vlog that I'm doing, I mentioned that I got an advanced screening of Tammy, starring Melissa McCarthy. The movie comes out Wednesday, July 2nd, and yeah, so I'm here to give my early opinions on it and let you know what it's like. So I'm going to start off with the plot. The plot follows Melissa McCarthy's character Tammy, and the movie starts out with her having a bad day, like a really bad day. I'm not going to get into it, but there's like 3 or 4 things that happen to her, and she just says, "Okay, I'm done. I'm leaving town. I'm just getting out of here." She has a rant, and her mom's like, "Okay, I'll see you tomorrow because your rants, you go on your rant, you leave for half a night or whatever, and then I get a call early in the morning saying, okay, I'm coming home. So have fun with that." And she's like adamant, "No, I'm leaving." And the only way that she can leave is if she takes her grandmother's car. The only way that she can take her grandmother's car, she brings her grandmother Pearl along, played by Susan Sarandon, which I thought was excellent casting. So, and yeah, that's kind of the movie. It's the road trip between Tammy and her grandmother Pearl. Um, and it was quite the hilarious ride, I have to say. Um, Typically, I kind of go into a Melissa McCarthy movie very weary. I know her style of humor is very crass, very vulgar, very sexual based, and it's not really the most comfortable thing for me to watch. So now I will say that The Heat was actually very funny. It was probably one of my favorite comedies of the last couple of years. It was definitely my favorite comedy of last year. Um, I thought it was actually really well done, and I'm not going to get into a review of The Heat right now. But it was actually like that point where I looked at Melissa McCarthy and went, okay, maybe not all of your movies are bad. And maybe not all of the time when you're doing these crass things isn't necessarily a bad thing. Because in Heat, she plays a Boston police officer. There's going to be swearing ensuing. Like, just. And I don't normally have a problem with swearing, but sometimes it's just kind of like, like I just sometimes I feel like when you're just overusing swearing just because you are allowed to have the R rating, so you're just going to throw in as much swearing as you can. This being said, I still haven't seen Wolf of Wall Street yet, so that should be fun. Anyways, going off track here. So yeah, I kind of went in not expecting a whole lot, kind of being on my guard, but I felt that they actually did the film really well. There's not as much swearing as you would expect from a Melissa McCarthy movie, and there's actually not as much sexual dialogue that you would expect as well. So I was actually very impressed by how they handled the content, how they handled the R rating. Like, it is still R rated, which is fine, and I didn't have a problem with it being R rated. I generally don't have problems with R rated movies. I'm just trying to get that out of the way right now. But I'm actually lingering on it too much. Anyways, so yeah, I just felt that they were a little more mature with the R rating, and they weren't just like, okay, well, we've got the R rating, so let's just be as vulgar and as crass as possible. So yeah. Anyways, let's talk about the acting. Melissa McCarthy does a great job as this character who's, kind of at this stuck point in her life. She's, she needs to grow up, but she hasn't quite realized it yet. And, she's just kind of this, like, whatever. Susan Sarandon as the grandmother was just great. When I read that, the premise was about this woman who goes on a road trip with her hard-drinking grandmother, and then read that the grandmother was Susan Sarandon, I was like, this is going to be interesting, and this could be potentially a lot of fun. And it was. She was hysterical in this role, and yeah, it's just, I don't know what else to say about it. She was just great. who else do we have? We've got Kathy Bates shows up about 3/4 of the way through. She was really entertaining. She was a lot of fun. Her character was really funny. And then yeah, we've just got some like side characters here and there, and everybody else does a pretty good job in their respective roles. Um, so give me a sec here. So I also felt that the movie was very heartfelt. Towards the end, it actually gets pretty emotional. It gets pretty strong. Like, I wouldn't even. I don't. I'm kind of over exaggerating here. It wasn't like strong, like like 12 Years a Slave, dramatic or anything. Which I don't know if I can use that reference because I haven't seen it yet either. Moving on. So it just. I felt it was very heartfelt, and there's a very heartfelt message at the end. There's a scene between Kathy Bates and Melissa McCarthy that I felt was very, very poignant. I think I'm using that word right. I'm hoping I'm using that word right. When the movie comes out and people go see it, comment below. Tell me if I'm using the word right. So yeah. Lost my train of thought. Yeah, I felt it was very heartfelt. It was very. It was kind of an eye opener, and I kind of felt that it was even speaking to Melissa McCarthy herself, actually. Huh. Mind blown. Anyways, so yeah, the other thing that kind of spoke to me was this was kind of what I wanted Bridesmaids to be, actually. When Bridesmaids came out, everybody was saying that it was going to be like the female Hangover. It was like it was the Hangover with women. It was going to be the crude version of a woman's. It was going to be like this crude bachelorette party. And it was going to be just like the Hangover. And people were like, "Oh yeah, it's just like the Hangover." And I was kind of disappointed by Bridesmaids. I didn't think it was like the female Hangover. I felt that this did what Bridesmaids tried to do, and not necessarily like the Hangover itself, but just the road trip movies in like the road trip genre in general. I felt that this was very much the women's version of the male road trip. I can't think of anything like off the top of my head. I guess the one that's coming to my mind right now as I'm thinking about it, male road trip, is Due Date. Wasn't the greatest movie. Was actually kind of entertaining though. But just that kind of like that genre where you get your two buddies, they go on a road trip and hilarity ensues. I felt that this was that female version of that genre. Just like The Heat is the female buddy cop movie. So yeah, I thought that it did what Bridesmaids was trying to like, or what like people were saying Bridesmaids was like the female version of this type thing. I'm thinking that Tammy's the female version of the male buddy movie, the road trip movie. Sorry. So yeah, and I think my last point, like my last positive point that I need to talk about is the humor in this movie. It's hysterical. There's a lot of jokes, and I found myself laughing a lot. I've been finding actually a lot recently that the more recent comedies have actually been funny. There was a point where I was like watching comedies and going, okay, that was kind of funny, but if I watch this movie again, it's not going to be as funny. And each time I watched a comedy, the jokes just got less and less funny because I knew what was coming. There's only been like 3 or 4 comedies before last year that I can remotely think of that are still funny, even though I've seen the movies like 5 or 6 times. Hot Fuzz, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, and the original Hangover. Those 3 movies always make me laugh. And then last year, we got The Heat and we got We're the Millers, and those movies have made me laugh every time I've watched them. I've only watched The Millers twice, but I was still laughing pretty hard the second time around. So I feel like Tammy's kind of the same way. I'm going to probably still laugh hard the second time I watch it. Um, we'll find out. I'll let you know when that happens. As for gripes with the film, I felt that there was kind of this sub-story, kind of like squished in, kind of shoehorned in because they had to do it because of whatever. I'm not going to talk about it right now, and in fact, I'm like, if you watched my other review, I talked about how, like, at the end of my reviews, I want to do spoiler talks. With this one, I'm not going to do that because the movie hasn't even come out yet. So I'm going to wait till next week after the movie's kind of come out and people have actually got the chance to see it, before I do any, like, spoiler talk. So I'll talk about the gripes then, but there's this aspect that kind of I felt got shoehorned in, and there was something else. What was the something else? It was, oh, there were some pacing issues. I felt that there were some scenes that kind of dragged on a bit, that kind of tied into the shoehorned side thing that I'm going to discuss later. But I just felt like there were some scenes that could have went on longer because they were really funny, and there were other scenes that they were kind of funny, but they could have been cut a little bit shorter, and we could have got some extra stuff here and there for something else. Minor gripes. I think that the movie overall was actually very enjoyable, and I am highly recommending that people check it out next week when it opens. It's a lot of fun, and if you are into road trip movies, um, yeah, road trip movies basically. Just funny movies that have like a nice message tied at the end, but it doesn't feel like it's being shoved down your throat. I would definitely recommend Tammy. I really enjoyed it, and I am definitely looking forward to owning my own copy of it when it comes out on Blu-ray. So, yeah, that's my review of Tammy. That's my thoughts on it. Sorry for the kind of like broken up speeches and loss of train of thought. Maybe I do need to script these. I don't know. We'll see how. We'll see how. We'll see if I grow accustomed to it as I do it more. But thanks for watching my video, and I'll see you in my I'll see you next time. I gotta learn how to end videos apparently too, so I gotta work on that. Yeah, take care.